ideally I would have playing music, but I don't have any music. So like, then.
What do you mean? Oh, from the beginning?
Yeah.
But you can edit that in.
We'll edit it in. Welcome to the show, guys. Thank you for coming. This is my first show, our first show.
Good to be here.
My name is Jonathan Francis. With me is Father Matthew Zetouna.
Nice to meet you.
And Swain.
Hello.
You guys want to introduce yourselves really quick? And
Sure.
Go ahead, Father Matthew.
Yeah, my name is Father Matthew Zetouna. I'm the associate pastor at St. George Church in Shelby Township, and I've been there for about a year now. I'm actually this month, today is June 13th. This month is my 5-year anniversary of priesthood. It marks it, June 30th. So I spent 4 years at Holy Martyrs Church, which wasn't too far from St. George. It was about a couple miles away. And so I've been there since. And I want, for the record, to show that actually John, the host, and Swain, I guess a quasi co-host, can we call you that? I don't know.
Sure.
They're my good friends. So I'm going to be very relaxed and, let's say, loose in my responses. I'm going to treat this like I'm in my Bible study crowd, or I feel that I can speak a little more freely than when I'm speaking from the pulpit in a different, completely, clearly different setting. So for now, you'll need to know I'm a priest. I've been a priest for 5 years, and I'm 32 years old.
You're a Chaldean priest.
I'm a Chaldean
For
priest.
people who don't know what a Chaldean is,
Catholic
or
Chaldean priest.
or a community is, can you explain that?
Yeah, so not to be confused with the Chaldeans of Babylon, or the Chaldeans from the first centuries that worshiped and participated in Zoroastrianism. Chaldeans, in the modern sense, are a group of people, most of whom are Catholic. It's also a Chaldean is a term for an Eastern Rite, R-I-T-E, in the Catholic Church. So just to make it clear, Chaldeans are Catholic. And there's about 22 rites in the Eastern rites of the Church. So there's a Roman Catholic Church and a bunch of other ones. So the apostles went to different places throughout the world. One of them went to India, and through his way, St. Thomas. Yeah, through his way, he stopped at Iraq. And pretty much what the apostles did was they baptized cultures. They brought Christ to those cultures. And so that's why you see different expressions of the same faith in different ways, different traditions. So our faith, our culture, has our Mass, our liturgical language in Aramaic. And it has a unique Eucharistic prayer, in as much as the Chaldean Church was always outside of the Roman Empire, the only of all of the rites that have always, at all times, been outside the Roman Empire's jurisdiction. And so we've maintained very unique antiquity in our traditions, and we still fall under the Pope, just like any other Roman Catholic. And so there are weird ways to apply the word Chaldean today, because not all Chaldeans are Catholic now. Some of them are Protestant, some of them are atheist. And I guess we're kind of becoming like Jews, and as much as there are some secular Jews, some religious Jews. And so, but I would say very much majority, predominantly, Chaldeans are Catholics. They fall under that branch of the church, you could say. So I am a Chaldean priest, and I was born in America, and I've never been to Iraq. I've never seen it in person. The furthest I've been in the Middle East, the only place I've been to is in Israel. About 4 or 5 times so far I've been there.
Wow. And there's another Chaldean next to you, Swain.
Mm-hmm.
Swain, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Swain. I am 32 years old. I am married. I have 2 kids. I am also, like John stated, a Chaldean Catholic. I attend St. George Church, where Father Matthew is a priest there. And also I am an electrical engineer.
And you're my friend.
And I am, unfortunately, John's friend.
You're an associate pastor right now, right?
Yeah, another word for that is, or phrase is parochial vicar. So I've been an associate pastor since I started as a priest.
Okay.
How do you become the pastor?
Do you want to?
Well, how do you become? Oh, that's a weird question. Do I want to? I think it sounds nice to be able to be in charge of a church and to promote a certain style of worshiping Jesus and a certain perspectives and certain rules aside, to grow a family, right? Not to run a church, to run a business. Mm-hmm. I see every church I've been as a family. Mm-hmm. When I look across the congregation, I love them as my fathers and my grandmas and my kids, as my grandmas are the kids too, because I'm their father. But that's a nice idea, to be able to have full say over that. In a sense, it's a luxury in a sense to not be a pastor, because currently my pastor, Father Wissam Maddie, he has to deal with like a lot of the administrative work, and I have the luxury of having the time to work on some of the spiritual work, like do Bible studies and be part of the youth group and visit different groups and things like that. So there's pros and cons.
I imagine both of them have you deal with a lot of stress because a lot of people look to you guys, whether you're the parochial, what'd you call yourself? Parochial vicar, or the head
assistant pastor, associate pastor.
I mean, if anything, like if something happens in our community, they look to our priest. They look to you for an answer. They'll come to your mass and they'll look for an answer during that next homily.
Yeah. So today's June 13th. I don't know when this will be played, but in the context of the day, there are some issues going on in the community that are sensitive. And if you go online, you see people flaming the church, just making obscene comments, just releasing a tundra of emotions and heartbreak over the situation right now. There's many Chaldeans that have been in the past have committed felony. They're not full citizens and therefore under the law, which has existed for a good long time, but it's now being implemented by the current administration, the Trump administration. There are many Chaldeans, I believe there's a number 80, last I checked, that have been detained and are threatened strongly with deportation to Iraq. And so the pressure thing, right? You just mentioned that. So people are looking at the church. Oh, I saw a video of Father Borgi trying to speak to a crowd who were rightfully emotionally compromised, and he couldn't even respond. And I called him later. I was like, man, I saw somebody had recorded that. This is as a young priest talking to a wise priest, an older priest, and I was like, you have the patience of a saint. I mean, maybe I would have responded more emotionally or what have you, but he told me I had to be their father. Like, it's not in my hand. I don't make the laws. It's not in my hands. I have to encourage them to not act emotionally so that someone can capitalize on 40 seconds of video and they can put on the news and then they don't do anything with it. No, we have to act rationally. Let's contact people who can do something about this. So there's that kind of pressure. There's other stuff that's kind of fun. Like I have a rule for myself. I don't have to follow this, but I just have this rule where I'm at a wedding. If I'm at a wedding, I don't dance unless it's from my immediate family or someone really close to me. I don't dance.
Why is that?
Okay, so why is that? What do you think?
You're not a good dancer.
That is correct. That's my cop out.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going for, but that's actually very correct.
Yeah,
I've been described as a frog and a blunder.
You didn't dance at my wedding, and I thought you were pretty close to me.
I said I only danced to really close friends.
I was wrong.
Ouch.
So the other reason why I don't dance.
You want us to guess?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm guessing you want that. You want to keep that. I don't know. Go ahead. Tell us.
People will probably talk. Oh, Father is dancing. That's inappropriate. Look at how many people are dressed with their chests hanging out and their back uncovered and their shoulders and exposed. And Father is dancing around. Those kinds of people. They're not commenting on the people either way.
I could totally see that happening.
But so again, I don't.
In other words, you're not allowed to have any fun because you're a priest.
I don't think it's wrong to dance, as I said. The St. Paul says if you're with your brother and he's scandalized by the fact that we eat meat and it's going to cause him to sin, then don't eat meat, even though it's not wrong to eat meat. Mm-hmm. So I don't dance, but it also is a big reason is because I can't dance. But anyway, or I don't have a drink at a wedding.
Yeah.
It's a funny situation where you have like a Pepsi in front of you, and people say, "Oh, Father's drinking Hennessy."
Hennessy and Coke.
Or you have water in front of you, and there's Father's drinking vodka, right? But they'll say, Father's drinking. But again, for certain situations, I'll have a beer and I'll show it to everybody. I don't care that I'm drinking a beer. And there's nothing wrong with having a beer, right? There's nothing wrong with drinking. There's something wrong with getting drunk, right? Passing that level. But
that's when it becomes a sin.
Exactly. According to Catholic theology, when you're forfeiting your free will and you get drunk, then it would be considered sinful, mortally.
I think there's so many pros and cons to being born into a community like we are. Like people will strive their whole lives to belong to something, to belong to a group of friends or just people with the same interests. We are very lucky that we're born into a Chaldean community. We have camaraderie, and but there's also with that there's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure.
There's so many pressures, and you spoke about it at the last Mass in your homily about pressures of being even on, like you spoke about a sensitive topic, homosexuality within a community that I've never heard a priest talk about. Last week was the first time I heard a priest talk about it in a Mass setting at a homily, and it was very interesting to hear.
Yeah, my reputation, which I'm frankly very proud of, is the blunt priest. He says it as it is, without any apologies. And I took this opportunity to use this gospel message as a backboard for this. The gospel message was when Jesus was invited by Simon the Pharisee to his house to have a meal, and then a sinful woman walked in. It was a known sinful woman of the city. Use that. There's a kind of that's evocative of something. She's a woman of the city, and so she enters, and there's a dynamic between how Jesus receives this woman with love, and how this Pharisee judged her as she walked in. He's supposed to be a religious figure, and there is pressure that exists in as much for Chaldeans. We have a undeniable discriminating. We discriminate against certain sins. So in this case, it was I was talking about homosexuality. Even those who are desiring to change their gender, transgender, or those who are transvestite. And I talked about not so much of the theology of why is it wrong to act on these impulses, these feelings. More so, I focused on, let's look at how we receive these people in the church first. Now, I don't like that word, these people, but for lack of a better term, what I mean is those who struggle with this inclination.
From a compassionate standpoint.
Yeah, I mean,
which I've never. Yeah, you don't really think about that. You don't really realize that we've become the Pharisees in some situations.
So I told the community we are Pharisees, straightforwardly. So the older generation, as you said, we come from a tight-knit background. We still have that with our generation. It's going to be going away soon, unfortunately. With the older generation, they're very hard-hearted and hard-headed with if their children are gay or expressing desires for homosexual desires or wanting to be transgender, transvestite, whatever. They just cut them off. Oh, you're sick. Don't touch me. Get away from my house. You're not my son anymore. You're not my daughter anymore. You're going to hell. You name it. What did I do to deserve this, God? And I've been called to people's houses before, and I've had interventions, and there were like crazy episodes of insanity where there was literal panic attacks that occurred with the families, and the mothers begging me in front of their child, like, Father, make my child straight, right in front of their child. I'm like, you're making any pain that your child has, you're making it 50 times worse, and you're kicking them out of the circle of love, of welcomeness, et cetera, et cetera. So I just addressed that in the homily. But in general, we have to be more blunt. In general, as a society, right? We're very politically correct and afraid to step on each other's toes. We like being in our own four walls of safety and our white picket fence, and we only pray when we hold hands during meals, but no one else is allowed to talk about, interior reflective things. You talk about Facebook, you talk about social media, you talk about whatever stupid
someone's posting.
Yeah, whatever stupid news article is being promoted by Snapchat about whatever Jenner or
it used to
Kardashian.
be just Snapchat. Now all the news feeds.
They're everywhere.
And I think I saw 4 in a row that each one has to deal with what you're wearing or sex.
Yep, summertime's here. How's your figure?
Yep.
How do you handle social media as a priest? Do you have?
Yeah, let's ask the hard questions that people.
Ask me.
We have
whatever
a
you
priest here.
Yeah,
we can ask all the hard questions that
they
people
can ask me
want to
whatever
ask.
they want. Let's see how
too nervous to ask.
Let's see how courageous they are.
Was that a bad
let's
question?
See how far they can go.
No.
So
let's ask the hard
I have an
questions.
Instagram. I don't like Instagram. The only reason I have it is mostly for evangelization purposes. I don't check my DMs. I know I get DMs, but out of a sense of protecting myself, I don't know what messages I'm going to be sent, and I don't want to deal with sensitive issues over a message form on an app.
Yeah.
Like Snap or like Instagram. So I don't have a Facebook. I canceled my Facebook in 2008 because I think Facebook is just frankly weird.
It's gotten a little weird now.
And yeah, I mean, someone will message me, I need to see you, Father. It's an emergency.
But
and then I don't get back because I don't check my Facebook every 5 minutes. And I hate the church because Father didn't respond to me. Literally, these conclusions are made by people. It's an irrational world. I used to have a Snapchat, and it was like very close family only, but I was so sick of seeing the news articles, and you scroll down and look at the stories. I just deleted my Snapchat too.
It was getting bad. I mean, like every day you scroll to the right to the newsfeed, you'd see Kylie Jenner's butt in your face.
I learned more about Kylie Jenner than my niece to see my baby niece, my sister's postings.
Does she own
why
Snapchat?
I got
Mm-hmm. The whole feed is
there's clearly an agenda that's going on in the media with a demoralization and a breaking down of good values. There's a very clear one when you see sickening, outright disgusting. And this is a repeated conversation. Everyone's had this conversation, but those shows, I don't even know what the show is called. I don't even want to know what it's called. With a picture of the kid wearing like the face strap and like a ball in its mouth, that sexual imagery as a little kid. There was like a promo for this, or it was on a commercial, or I don't watch TV. Someone showed me this, but like that's a common thing on cable TV now. So yeah, I mean it's just depressing. So I don't like social media, frankly.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very weird dynamic that many people argue about sensitive topics over social media. And this is the lowest form of communication, I think. It is the lowest form.
But also, statistically speaking, it says that people that post a lot on social media are really insecure about themselves. I would just like to point that out.
Swan is a comic relief. He's a good friend, and he's gonna make comments like that. But I get Swan. I know what he means. So you need to get that too. I love Swan. He's a comic relief in my life. He's a good friend.
I think we live in such an interesting time, like compared to our ancestors who lived in a village in a close-knit community.
Our grandparents.
And if you had something to say, you said it amongst the community, or if you wanted to mingle with people, it would be at the next party.
You just sit outside the door. Everyone's sitting outside, right?
Everyone sit outside. You see everybody.
The village is a family.
Yeah.
But our country is destroyed now, and they're trying to send people back there.
Yeah.
Yep. Mercy. So anyway,
so
we're going back to that topic.
Yeah.
I don't even think we concluded that topic, did we?
I don't think we did.
So the idea is that there are pressures in the community. Going back to the whole deportation issue, the best and most important thing to do is use a rational mind to apply your abilities, to call and attempt to make contact with those who have the ability to make an impact on this.
And pray. Which is the strongest form, probably.
Yeah, a lot of people are blaming the church just to address a hot button issue with. I've heard it said, just to say it as it is, that the church supported Trump, so it's your fault. So a lot of people are very angry at the church. You see a lot of comments on social media right now. And what I say to that is, frankly, I'm sharing my own personal opinion. I think both candidates, and most all candidates, are choosing between a rotten choice or another rotten choice, and we're trying to choose the least rotten choice. But I believe, not to be too political, it is emotionally a charged comment, because when you see this same thing happen with our community in San Diego under the previous administration, but again, there's so much bipolar distancing that's intentionally being done between, oh, you're a part of this party, therefore you're evil because I disagree with everything that you hold on to, and I hate you, you're vile to me. So this is a good place to vent that out. This dangerous disease that's being sown from the news media, from different outlets that are trying to distance everyone. You can't even talk about your differences anymore. And so now it's just what it is. I'm gonna vomit and spew at you my anger for you having been associated with this candidate. You know?
I've never seen our country so divided.
No,
I've never seen this before.
It's intentional, and I don't care if I sound like I'm crazy. It's intentional. If you look at any news media, any kind of like influential outlets, whether they're even with entertainment departments, movies or whatever, there's an intentional promotion of this division, and you see it playing out with ugly groups like how Black Lives Matter is playing out. It's very ugly. Divisive. Now the society has gone insane. It's completely inverted, where blacks say, oh, you can't come to my group if you're not black. What? Back in 1950, 1960? It's literally backwards. But even now, like I'm falling into it because I'm condemning a group, so strongly. But everyone has to take a step back, including myself, and learn how to dialogue, learn how to make conclusions with the application of reason. Otherwise, we're going to go nowhere fast, because
we are going nowhere fast.
Animals use their feelings to make, their instincts to act, and we have reason, and
I think about that a lot, about how we've become so desensitized that we're not even human to each other anymore. And I remember being at March for Life, and you see protesters who are protesting against us, and they were vile, spitting, yelling, like screaming at us.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, if I were to see this person in a coffee shop, we might be friends, we might hit it off, we might be nice to each other, they might hold the door for me, I might say thank you.
Regardless, I think that there are people that are paid to do this. I don't think. I mean, it's on Craigslist, it's on other venues where people are being hired to voice opposition, and they're being paid for it. $25 an hour for those who are on a lead.
$25 an hour?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I was about to join.
Where is this?
I mean, I'll just show up and take the money and go get a burger.
Minimum wage is less than 10. Right?
But the point being, again, I don't care how crazy it sounds, and you can probe my mind if you want personally about it, but there is an intentional wedge that's being driven, and people like George Soros and what have you. Not to sound, that's not a political comment, it's just a fact. He's paying people to do that kind of stuff, and maybe even the Trump administration might be paying the other side. Either way, it's artificial. It's not natural, and we got to use reason. Remember that thing we used to use a long time ago, before internet. So internet's not bad, right? It's just let's not forego our reason for the sake of anything else. Even as a priest, I mean that reason is important. Don't just accept things blindly, right?
So a little off topic here. Can you explain your average daily routine as a priest?
Do you want to go through weekends, or do you want to go through weekdays?
Let's do a weekday and a weekend, so people know what a priest life is all about while we have you here, before we get some hooligans on the show.
Okay.
We have a nice, humble, holy person here.
Oh yeah, John is very good.
So
all right, he was talking about you.
No, I was talking about you.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about you now.
So what I typically do is about 3 days a week I go to the gym. So if I start my morning,
You go to the gym.
I go to the gym, man. I've been.
Who are you trying to look good for?
I'm trying to feel good. Look good for me.
That's so important, to go to the gym, stay healthy, be active. It changes your mindset. And
it does. It just increases your like sense of confidence, your emotional health, your relaxation, and even if you're tired, ironically, it gives you more energy.
Does it help you when you're at the gym and you have hard topics from people who called you about problems? Does it help you think them through at the gym?
No, it more so helps me to vent any frustration or anything that feels complicated within me.
Because you have to take emotion out of into your conversations with people with problems, because you need to make sure that you're taking your emotions out and giving them the advice they need, the proper advice.
That could be part of it. I notice whenever I go to the gym afterwards, I'm much more clear-minded. Maybe because I got my blood flowing better and my brain is getting fresh blood. But more so what helps is the prayer life, which is what I typically do after I go to the gym. I'll visit the Adoration Chapel. At St. George, we have a chapel where there's the Eucharist present, the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist. And I'll sit there for an extended amount of time. We have morning prayer in the church. It takes about a half hour. Following that, I have Mass. Typically, I'll have appointments. So it's kind of hard to gauge how a day is like. If it's a Wednesday, I'll work on my Bible study all day. If it's a Tuesday, I typically have a lot of appointments. Thursdays, I make appointments for marriage files, because St. George has 180 weddings a year. This Friday, I have a funeral Mass, for instance, and I have other appointments that I don't remember what they are. And we have 2 weddings after that. And this Friday, I'm going out to a baseball game with my high school youth group leaders as an outing. So I say the word appointments loosely. Those appointments range from people's personal problems, whether they're spiritual in nature, whether they're relational in nature, with marriage issues, sensitive issues at home, with the family, vocational, if I'm thinking of being a priest, or spiritual direction, regular appointments with people consistently that have a relationship spiritually, that I direct them with how God is moving in their life. So those are kind of a sample of different things, and a lot more than that.
Sorry, go ahead.
You put them in sequential order as far as how much help the person needs. As far as you going out to, say, the baseball game, and someone calls you with an urgent matter that's very serious in their life, you'll take priority and help depending on the situation.
Yeah, so it depends on the situation.
I want to let people know that, I think I've heard it before where maybe someone needs something and they call the church and they say, oh, the priest is unavailable right now.
Yeah,
but depending on their matter, they don't know what you're currently doing that could be at a hospital giving someone their last rites.
Yeah.
And then they feel that they were not given the attention they needed.
Yeah.
So just putting it out there that you have a pretty busy day every day.
Sure. I mean, I had an appointment this Friday with somebody, and today I heard about a man that I blessed on Memorial Day. I gave him the last rites, and he just passed away today. And so I had to cancel that appointment this Friday, which was just that appointment was made today. But there are sometimes when there's sensitive responses because of that. But typically, I'll mostly cancel anything I'm doing if someone's dying, or if there's, again, gauging on the circumstance of a need for me to be present for that person, depending on what's happening.
That's interesting you say that, because I know a lot of people who maybe they don't go to church every week, or maybe they don't go to church at all, and their only encounter with St. George or Father Matthew is a phone call to set up a funeral or something. And a lot of times, if they get mistreated in the slightest way or inconvenienced,
or seemingly mistreated,
they'll use that as,
that's why I don't.
That's why I don't go to church.
Or they're only.
That's why.
There's some people who, just to lay this straight out there, blunt talk, who try to find a reason to hate church so they can justify their lazy lives, okay, and justify their immoral lives. There's that exists. The majority, I think, is like that. There's other people who, because of the sins of their past generation priest or what their fathers talk smack about the church from what they've seen or what have you, from actual sins of the church, people inherited that from hearing it from their family, and so they try not to maybe actively see it, but they have their radar on. So in anything that's seemingly unjust or unjust is reinforcing their perception of the church, the negative perception. So,
like seeing you at a baseball game with the youth group leaders who they don't know who they are, having a beer. Oh, there goes Father Matthew.
Yeah, that's
having a beer at a baseball game. Why isn't he out doing some miracles?
Yeah, but I don't want to play the victim because, frankly, it doesn't make me lose too much of my sleep. Because to a certain extent, I'm not going to let that run my life. That's on you. If you want to interpret it that way, you have free will too. You have a brain, and if you don't want to apply reason, to seeing the circumstance and trying to understand, I mean, it's almost like you're trying to interpret it that way. So I don't have too much mercy on you. Only I'll try to, and as much as I see that, I try to reach out as my what I believe in. I have to be there for those who are in their weakened states. But if it's pretty clear that you're just trying to hate on the church. There's one situation where someone was asking me to promote something in the church that was not church-like at all. And it was a personal business endeavor, and I said, this isn't the place to do that. And the person would not stop accusing me. He doesn't even know who I am, doesn't know anything about me, never had an interaction with this person in my life, has never been to one of my masses, because if they had, they'd know who I was. And they said, the church only cares about money, that's why you're not supporting me. What? This was a drawn-out conclusion that came out of nowhere. And if you've been to church at all in the past 10 years, you've seen, that poison has been dead for a long time. But this person was just trying to find art, and that person hung up in my face when I was trying to have an intelligent conversation. So, yeah. So that exists. I mean, I don't lose my sleep over that. That's that person's problem. You know what I mean? That's that person's problem. And I'm able to separate that. If I can't separate that, I'm going to go insane, because every single problem that I encounter in my office, depending on the nature of the sensitivity and all that, I mean, they'll all weigh me down. But I leave it in God's hands. And as much as I don't have control over it, it's in God's hands.
Yeah.
Got any difficult questions for Father Matthew?
I was going to ask you, what's your favorite part of the job? What's your favorite part of priesthood? Or when you were becoming a priest, what did you look forward to most? Oh, when I become a priest, I'm going to get to do so-and-so.
The sacraments. I mean, I like Mass and confession are powerful moments. I especially like the Chaldean Mass, in some ways more than the English Mass. Not many people, maybe people would be surprised if they hear that. But I love being a Chaldean priest, so participating in the liturgy and expressing from the heart their spirituality in the Aramaic language with the ornate tones and all that as something that I feel really good about. I also enjoy those moments as a priest when I get to really feel like this parishioner or these parishioners are my family. They're not subjects that I teach. They're not disciples strictly. They're like, I love them, like, and I see them as my spiritual children or my spiritual mother or father or sibling.
How many years were you in the seminary for? How long does it take the process of becoming a priest?
So if you enter right after high school for a Chaldean, it takes about 8 years.
8 years.
4 years undergrad.
And where did you go?
I went to Sacred Heart Major Seminary in Detroit, Michigan. And it is one of 2 seminaries in Michigan. The other is in Orchard Lake, St. Mary's. It's mostly Polish-focused seminarians there, and not immigrants, but those who are sent over from Poland to study here.
So
you were there longer than 8. I remember you were ready to graduate, and you stayed an extra year by choice.
That was supposed to be 6 years, actually.
Okay.
And my last year, I wanted to take an extra year because I didn't feel I was ready, and I requested that.
I think that...
And I wasn't given permission. I requested it again. I wasn't given permission. So then October hit, and I was going to get ordained a deacon in December. So I sent my bishop an email. He was in Rome at the time, Bishop Ibrahim, and I said, I'm not asking your permission. I'm just asking for your blessing because I'm going to be taking an extra year. I didn't feel I was ready. It was a weighty decision.
So 7 years?
It took me 7 years. Yeah.
7 years.
Not a lot of people would do that.
And where's the point of no return in that 7 years?
Once you become a deacon.
And how
that
many
was,
years?
That was 2 months before. So for me, it was 6 months before I was ordained.
Yes.
But now the bishop has changed it where it's 1 year before you're ordained. You become a deacon, a full deacon.
And that 6 years, for you 2 months you said?
6 months.
6 months. So in that 6 years and how many ever months, did you ever think about not doing it?
Yeah.
Or getting married and having children?
My first year I had like a...
I'm just asking these questions that maybe people think of asking a priest, but they don't.
My first year I had like a hard time with the fact that I wasn't going to get married, and I prayed for a sign. And
did you get one?
I had a big
And you
poster.
saw the sign?
That night I was like going to bed having a hard time. I saw the sign. It opened up my eyes. And, so I prayed, like, God give me a sign. I went to bed, and at like 3 a.m, there's a huge poster like crashed down. I'm like, is that the sign? I didn't know. So I called my spiritual director. He wasn't there. I called my formation director. He wasn't there. So I just called another priest, who's really Holy Father Berg, God rest his soul. He was teaching at the seminary for almost 50 years. And I was like, I need to talk to you. It's really important. He's like, okay. I told him, I was like, God's calling me to lead the seminary. He's like, why? And I told him why. He's like, God's not calling you to lead the seminary. That's not how he works. And I got a lot of relief from that because I had taken the wisdom from a wise man. So
It's funny how we look for physical signs. I remember Father Pierre telling a story. He said, someone asked him, Father Pierre, how did you know you wanted to be a priest? He said, oh, well, one day I was about 18 years old, and I was really struggling with life. I didn't know what to do, and I took a walk outside, and I was praying, and I said, God, show me a sign. What should I become a priest? What should I do? And then all of a sudden, the storm started happening around me. There was lightning, and lightning struck the grass, and flames on the grass, and in the grass is written, go to the seminary or something like that. And some girl was like, really? He's like, no, that didn't happen. It doesn't work like that. It's not that easy. Like, you're not gonna get a sign like that.
Use your reason. Use your brain. It very rarely works like that. Sometimes people get visions or signs, but the Catechism of the Catholic Church says that your conscience is the Holy Spirit speaking to you, so you should always follow your conscience. I'll go so far as to say if your conscience is leading you away from the Catholic Church, conscience, well, in your opinion, you're doing your best to well-form that conscience, then you need to get away from the Catholic Church. Oh, Father Matthew, you can't say that. Yes, I can. You need to use your brain. People think that's weird because the priest is saying that. You need to exercise reason, and that's how you make your decisions. And my reason sees that faith is a logical thing. I can't exhaust it. I can't demonstrate. Obviously, it wouldn't be faith if it was, but I believe it is a logical conclusion to accept that faith is a factor in life that fills a lot of holes in a lot of places that reason can't fill, and particularly that faith comes from a person whose name is Jesus, or God has revealed his name as the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, right? So I like reason, I like philosophy, and I like to say to people to use reason, and it makes a lot of the people from the older back home generation angry because it sounds like I'm telling people to leave the faith. But hey, if you don't feel like this is the truth and you're doing your best and you come to that conclusion, then leave. I'm not going to force you to do something you don't want to do, you don't think is right. Right? We're not Muslim. Islam says that you are not allowed to question your faith. Not allowed to question it. It's against the precepts of their faith.
Yeah.
Well, we use our reason. We use our brain. Catholic Church is behind a lot of innovations with the field of science. The Big Bang Theory was
a show.
Big Bang Theory was keyed by a Catholic priest.
The Catholic priest came up with that, with the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
So you said Islam, they're forced to. It's not forced, but it says
they're not allowed to question
it.
Their faith, yeah.
But are you saying Catholics are allowed to question it?
I think Catholics should and are encouraged to question whether or not their faith is right, and they should come to the conclusion themselves as outside of accepting blindly something as big as is having eternal consequences. You should make an intentional personal decision to choose that.
Okay.
I don't apologize for that. For saying that, I don't apologize for that.
It's free will, right?
Yeah,
it goes back to free will.
God wants a free heart. He doesn't force us. Jesus was like that in the Gospels, right? He demands our full all, but he doesn't take it from us. He calls for it.
It would be meaningless if it was just sort of taken from us, right?
Yeah, it would.
Very true.
There would be no point in using reason or exercising any faculty of thought if God's just going to make you do something.
Want some more vodka?
Vodka, is that right?
If I keep drinking, I'm going to talk about other topics.
Do you know how to tell the difference between vodka and water?
No.
Do you know? No. You shake it. Vodka doesn't have bubbles.
Oh.
Water has bubbles.
Hold on, for the audience that's watching, I just want to show you my water.
Yeah, put the cap on. That's how, if you go into like a stadium and they want to test if you have
bubbles.
Yeah. So if you did that with vodka, there'd be no bubbles.
Wow. How do you say bubble in
Chaldean?
Chaldean?
All this time in high school, all the prom years, they never caught it.
They never got it.
How do you say bubble in Chaldean? Bakbakta.
No way.
It's an onomatopoeia.
Bakbakta?
Yeah, how do you say fireworks in Arabic?
Toj.
Barakat.
I know that one. For all you people that are not Chaldean, you can Google it.
Did you go to prom?
I went to prom, yeah.
With a date?
I did, with a date.
And it was a man.
How were you in high school?
Pit inside the date. Huh. How was I in high school? Yeah. Oh, I hear a little chuckling going on.
Well, I've heard things. I've heard you. I mean, you said it yourself.
I heard you were quite the womanizer.
No.
What?
No, I heard you were a troublemaker.
No, I was a troublemaker. I was a ding dong.
What's a ding dong?
A ding dong is a hayawan. A hayawan is an animal.
Oh, okay.
What city did you?
So I grew up in West Bloomfield during that time of my life.
West Bloomfield, Michigan.
Yeah, thank you.
So did you go to West Bloomfield High School?
I did. So I didn't like the school. My entering high school was right after my mother's death. So my mom passed away when I was 14. The day before my last day of 8th grade, she died. So I went to high school kind of not knowing myself and having a hard time just with life in general. And so I don't know if that manifested itself in me bullying others and being kind of a hard head. That I think might have to do somewhat with it. Also, I had free will, and I chose to be that way. But yeah,
I would think it has some. I mean, your mom passing away at a young age. I would think
for sure it had to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, any family. I don't know if I want to call it like a broken family, but you know, losing a parent, it just things change. I think
at a young age,
it certainly changed. Well, I didn't just lose my mom, but she was paralyzed for 11 years before that straight. Practically from her neck down. She had MS. So there's, just to give you a rundown, I have 2 older sisters, 1 younger brother. There's 1 year between each of us. When my mom was pregnant with my younger brother, that's when she found out she was diagnosed. And it was a few years after that she became pretty much almost incapacitated. I mean, from the neck down, she was paralyzed. And so it wasn't just like my mom died when I was 14, but to be frank, I didn't have an experience of a mom.
Your whole life you've known her was when she was
in some way limited.
Yeah.
I mean, she could talk, she could express herself, sometimes with a lot of effort and pain, but the profound image she left on me was that I never saw complaining from her, not even once in my memory, and that she was always pro prayer. So she always watched like Mother Angelica was her best friend. She always had a rosary in her hand. Images of holy items always somehow around her or on her person. So those couple things left a strong impression on me that made me have a change later on, because you have your phases when you're in your teens, you're trying to figure yourself out and all that, but later on I was kind of pressured to go on a retreat, and there I also had a re-evaluation of my life and decided that what I was doing, how I was living, I was going to go to hell. I was actually confident, and I still think that was the case. And so the question that I asked myself was, do I want to continue living like this? And would I even want to have lived to this point if I knew I was going to be like this? I'd rather have died when I was a baby. That was my conclusion. So I just thought of the sacrifices of both my mother and father.
You have to go to a deep place to start thinking that. I would have rather have died as a baby than...
Yeah.
I mean, that's some deep personal reflection.
Some morbid, cryptic, deep level stuff. So,
did you have depression?
No, I didn't. No. I don't. I'm grateful to say I didn't.
Yeah.
It was just more of confusion on how to deal with my emotions and expressing them in frustration out of maybe the seeming or my experience unfairness of life.
Yeah. It would seem unfair.
So how do I protect myself? Oh, life is unfair. God is unfair. I got to fend for myself. I got to protect my family. How am I going to do that? Build myself up and, whatever. And also, how do I become happy? You look at how other people are becoming happy through how the society says, right? Money, looks,
materialistic items.
Yeah, relationships, right? So.
Wait, happiness to relationships?
Having a pretty girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
I got a call from Swain about a month ago. He's like, "What's a better name? What were the names you gave me?"
I gave you Abel.
No, was that the first name you gave me?
No.
You gave me two different names.
Abel was one of them, wasn't it?
I know what one was. It was
what was it?
Lazarus.
Lazarus.
Lazarus. That's a great name. Yeah. Anyway, he gave me a couple of names, then I was like, I think Abel is the best one. That was
an hour before the baby was born.
Yeah, my wife is in labor right now. I'm like, what? He just picked the name right now. That was amazing.
But that's not uncommon when people name their baby after they see the baby.
That's not.
No, it's not. And we didn't know the gender either.
It looks like a Abel or a...
My sister's pregnant again.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So you're an uncle of 2 or 3.
She has 3 kids, and Stephen has 1 daughter, my brother.
That's right.
And Angela will have her 4th.
Wow.
So you're an uncle of many.
I want to say many, many, many in the future. Hopefully. So
you don't see that a lot anymore. They've already had they're on their 4th kid already, and they're a pretty young married couple. A lot of the conversation now is, oh my gosh, having kids is so much work
and expensive.
I'm done it too. Or there's a lot of couples I'll talk to. Oh, this is your 3rd? Yeah, we're done. We're done.
My good friend Tracy was visiting yesterday. She's from Germany. And she said the Germans are very blunt and direct, and as a culture, and so if they see you having 3 kids, they will come up to you as random strangers and say, like, they'll correct you for having had 3 kids because you shouldn't have had that many kids.
Jeez.
She said in Germany when she looks around, like in the train, in the subway, whatever, all little kids sit like straight and with posture and perfectly. And one time she saw a little kid running around. She's like, "Oh my God, it's a child!" Like, I barely see that, and then she realized it was an immigrant child.
I think it's interesting. Our society now, modern day society, puts so much value on life and material things that it starts to outweigh how many children you have, and like what type of lifestyle you want. I think Father Ben talked about it.
Who's Father Ben?
Father Ben Lutke.
Okay.
He spoke about the Roman civilization and the fall of the Roman Empire, and how now they're starting to look back and they're attributing it to them having less and less kids. Even they were having many abortions. If the baby was a girl, they'd kill it because they wanted.
So Europe is done for, in other words.
Europe?
Yep.
I don't know.
Europe is done for. Their birth rate's horrible. I mean, strict Europeans.
But yeah, I mean,
the immigrants that are coming in, no, what we call the refugees, but they're mostly just immigrants.
Yeah, it could be.
To make that very clear.
I mean, we watched. He was saying how the Roman Empire, it fell. One of the reasons it fell is because they were only having like one kid, one son. They wanted an heir, and that's it, because it costs a lot to have so many kids, and they would rather have the comfortable lifestyle that they wanted, rather than have more kids.
There's a question in the marriage file that you have to go through. You have to go through all these questions. One of them is, will you accept children lovingly from God and raise them according to the law of Christ in His church? And I always highlight the phrase, like, accept children lovingly. Are you going into this thing, I'm going to have this many kids, no compromise? Or are you including God with that decision? And then understanding it in the nature of God is giving you the kids. You're not dictating to God. You know, it's something that we take for granted.
Yeah.
And it may sound like a foreign thought or a very, very distant thought to the listeners right now. But if that's the case, I mean, I would challenge those who are listening and say, how often do you think about God and what He's asking of you? Of course, it's going to be a foreign thought if you're not asking that too often.
Yeah. Is it easier for us to be accepting of many, many children? Oh, well, you're married and you have kids.
2.
And I don't know.
And I won't stop.
And you won't stop.
Can't stop.
Like, what do you think about that?
Rockefeller Records.
Like, are you open to having 4 or 5 kids? Do you
Yes.
want? Is that what you want?
I will accept as many as we can have.
18 kids.
No.
I believe St. Catherine of Siena was the last of 24, maybe 26.
I mean, that woman must have started at 12.
And I heard she was a really bad kid too, actually.
Her mother just must have started at 12 and just baby.
Factory produced.
Yeah. We'll have as many
Until she's barren.
As many as we can.
Must
Our
be.
house can hold. Put it that way.
Okay.
That's good. That's nice.
If our house can hold 5,
Yeah.
stick with 5. We get a bigger house.
Yeah.
Have more kids.
Does that ever...
The sound of children is happiness to me.
I think it's awesome when I see, I'm looking at my grandpa's eyes, but God rest his soul, but when I used to look in his eyes, and he sees the whole family running around. He has 11 kids, and they all had their kids, and some of them had their kids. And he would just sit and Christmas and see everybody and mingling and
There's gotta
conversing.
be
And
such a sense of satisfaction
yeah,
just sitting there.
Yeah.
beautiful. The
Huge
massive
families
amount of food on the table.
are
Look at all the life that
Uh-huh.
one man helped create.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Especially for family get-togethers. The bigger the family is, the more fun it is.
Yeah.
For some families. Some families
Yeah.
will hate each other.
And there we have it.
What do you guys think? How long have we been going for? About an hour?
We've been going for too
Hour and a
long,
half.
probably. I would say shows that actually make it are half hour. This one's definitely
This is long.
couldn't be the greatest.
I like I'm having a good time.
I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
This is fun. I was kind of sad if you were going to end it.
I'm not going to end it, no. We can keep going for a little
Unless
bit.
you want to end it. Do you want to end it? No? Okay.
It's
I
like,
can't,
what
I
is
can't hear you.
Is
so
this
it
Blue's Clues?
No. Here's the mail. It never fails. Wait, what? How do I know that? It makes me want to wag my tail. So, yeah. It's fun being a priest in today's generation because part of my personality likes trolling people, and part of my personality gets a sick satisfaction out of saying controversial things that are not because for the sake of being controversial, but because they need to be said, and because they're in accord with the gospel message. So not my message, right? But I'm just talking from Father Matthew's perspective. I get a sick enjoyment out of seeing some of the response from people when they're like, "Man, how can you say that?" No. I'm not giving my message, so I'm confident in the message. But I will say, in general, I push this hard. Like, we gotta be honest with each other. We gotta speak blunt with each other. We gotta speak straight with each other. It doesn't happen anymore. So we're back here.
So we're back.
We have an
No.
irrational cutting and pasting right now.
We were
going
talking
on.
about working out. You do look good.
Well, I don't know how to respond to that, but thank you. I'll also say thank you.
So
So I work out 3 days a week, 4 days a week sometimes.
yeah.
And
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask you. Do a lot of people approach you while you're working out or doing personal things? Like, oh, Father Matthew, and I have a question.
I have
hear my-
been approached almost every single time. Yeah,
Yeah.
almost every single time.
So are your workouts 2 to 3 hours long because of that?
No, people are pretty good at respecting me that I'm there to work out, and especially because I give the impression of like, okay, I'm not here to talk, you know.
Do you yell at them?
There's only been a couple of times where people try to engage in conversation that was like not going anywhere. I was like, I'm just here to work out. We can talk another time, right? I just had to let them know they didn't realize it. But everyone's respectful. I've been asked to do confessions. I may or may not have heard confessions at the gym. I don't know if I can comment on that, so I'll just say it in generic terms. I may or may not have heard confessions at the gym.
Those people are protected by the seal of confession.
There we go.
The seal.
In principle.
Not yours.
Not mine. I remember one time Father Boji was doing mass, and I said, "Oh, that means Father Matthew is hearing confession." I'm like, "Okay, I need to go to confession." But sometimes, because we know each other personally, deep inside, I'm like, "Oh, what if should I go face to face? Should I go behind the screen? He'll know my voice anyway." So I'm going in line, and then I see your confessional booth is full. I'm like, I look at the other confessional booth. There's another priest, like a visiting priest here. I'm like, oh, perfect. I don't have to go to Father Matthew. I'm going to go to this guy.
Because he
knows
you.
And there's no line because I'm afraid because he knows me.
And he knows gonna know all the bad things you've done.
Yeah, he already knows.
Like what?
It was petty. It was dumb, but anyway, so I go to the other booth. You're such a
just a hater, Swain. Hater. HATER.
I went to the other booth. I'm like, I'm going to go to this visiting priest. He doesn't know me. And I sit down. I kneel, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been this long since my last confession. Then I hear, John? And I'm like, Father Matthew? He's like, yeah, get over here. I'm like, what are you doing here? This is not your confessional booth.
Disclaimer, I can neither confirm nor deny anything that John is saying. Can be completely fabricated or it could be true. But I'm just going to listen to this story, okay?
This is true.
I
said, what are you doing here? This is not your confessional booth. He's like, yeah, I know. There's a visiting priest here. He took my booth over there. I had to come here. I'm like, there's no one in this line because they all think you're over there.
I'm not commenting on that story at all.
That may or may have not.
You can talk. I can't talk.
Okay.
Hypothetically, if someone goes to confession with a priest, they're allowed to talk about their experience. But the priest can't say, even if the person went to confession or not.
Wow.
Even if you were the person that went to confession, I can't comment to you about what you said to me. Unless you mention to me again outside of the context of confession.
And that goes for the law, too.
I'm protected by the law. So if someone committed murder and confessed it to me, and that was only revealed to me in the context of confession, and I'm put on the jury, or rather put on the stand, then I am protected to not disclose what was said to me during because I'm protected by the sacramental seal of confession. Should I break that seal?
Yeah, what happens?
Then I am late sententiae excommunicated. So that means that I'm automatically excommunicated until I get that lifted with the authority of the Pope, which would be through a bishop that he would commission probably.
Wow.
If he let.
Very serious.
Well, it's good news for us.
It is.
That's good news for us.
It is. I mean, we're all sinners. I go to confession too.
Confession is like, we have therapy, right? And it's like God knew us before modern medical sciences knew us, and they said, "Oh, therapy is good for you." Nice. God knew we needed to talk to somebody and tell them.
It's a healthy psychological practice. Yeah, just in a level of releasing something that was heavily weighing on you. It's great. Some people say oh, what if someone, I want the viewers to know I was going to mention something that can be an abuse of the sacrament, but I'm not going to mention it anymore because I don't want to give anybody any ideas. So I'm going to cut that right there, and you can continue, but you don't even have to cut that out. But
it sounded really interesting.
It was really interesting.
What was that?
Yeah, you want to know? Should I say it?
No, you don't. If it jeopardizes, I don't want you excommunicated.
I'll just say it. I don't really care. All right, so I'll just say it. What if someone comes in the confessional and says, "Father, I poisoned the wine in the chalice"? What do you do about that, right? Because I can't talk about anything.
Can you run out and try to?
So hypothetically speaking, maybe what I would do is, when the time came for, in the Chaldean Mass, we touch together the chalice and the paten where the bread is and the wine is, 3 times. So I would just hit it 3 times, and then I actually spilled the wine. Oh no!
Oh, can't use that.
Gotta get some fresh wine. Or if someone put a bomb under the pews. Right, that's why I don't want to give these ideas, but
yeah.
And then I'm like, oh crap! I hit the fire alarm. Oh, we all have to leave the church.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, some serious stuff actually.
Yeah, that's how serious it's taken.
Ever.
If someone said that, I'd just walk right out of that confessional. I'm not gonna hear this.
What do you like to do on your free time, if you have any? Personal time. What do you enjoy?
So you're seeing Father Matthew here in another light, in my natural state. I like Japanese animation. I like anime a lot. I think there's a lot of beautiful themes and character development that's much more mature than Batman Returns or Batman Begins or The Dark Knight. Or whatever.
I like that, actually.
That's good. I don't watch TV traditionally. Sometimes I'll watch news here and there just to see what news organizations are saying. That's part of my hobbies, too. I like to be caught up. Not from news organizations. I can't stand any of the mainstream media, Fox, CNN, or MSNBC, or whatever. I like to see objective primary sources. So I go on like underground forum websites where they're discussing things that are going on. Sometimes there's leaks or alleged leaks that happen on these sites. That's part of my hobbies. That's something I really enjoy doing. Why? Because for many reasons, I have a responsibility to know the truth and to pursue the truth and to act in accord and in response to the truth. And as someone that's a leader of the community, I want to be informed. So
it's kind of hard to find the truth nowadays.
It is.
I don't know who to.
So you have to use your best judgment in the end, right? Use your brain. I keep referring to that again.
You can stay up on like facts and then relay it to the people of the community.
And I have to be careful what I
preach to.
Yeah,
and then something can go wrong with that, and they can say, you know what, Father Matthew said this, and
I've
now
done that
we're
before.
Listening to this. So
I've seen people walk out of your homilies.
yes,
Walk out of mass.
I
Well,
personally have seen.
I don't apologize for anything I've said in the homily that I've seen people walk out for, because I know what those comments were about teachings of the church on abortion, and even one that was responding to one of the emails that were leaked from Hillary, where she was setting up, Podesta was setting up a group to infiltrate the Catholic Church. Yeah, I'm going to respond to that.
Of course.
You're trying to infiltrate the Catholic Church for political gain, and there's supposed to be an understanding of separation of church and state, and you're crossing over into the church's yard line.
And it was a very clear agenda in the email. There was no code behind it. It specifically mentioned the Catholic Church.
Yeah, so this isn't a Trump Hillary thing for the viewers. I'm just commenting on something that I did see, and I didn't like that. But in general, I do like politics. I like anime, as I was saying. So I like the Japanese culture a lot. If I wasn't born Chaldean, maybe I'd be. If I had to choose, I'd have to be Japanese. I think they're a beautiful culture.
Mm-hmm. Have you been to Japan?
I have been to Japan. I've been to Osaka.
How is that?
Osaka, Kyoto, and Tokyo, and Hakone, which is a base of area around Mount Fuji. It's cool. It's the coolest place I've ever been in my life in terms of cultural and this artistic expression. I went during almost the peak of cherry blossom season in 2000. Was it last year? I don't know. 2 years ago.
I think you went last year.
It was last year. Yeah, it was.
I'm not sure I was invited.
Nope, you were not. I also didn't dance at your wedding. So Tokyo has the best food cuisine, like rated, I don't know by whom, but it's one that I read, it was in the world. And the food is just incredible. The uniqueness of everything you see is so cool. Everyone's respectful. Everyone is ordered. And then
it's got to be refreshing to going from here to there.
It is,
right? Because
people don't know who Father Matthew is. And everyone's looking at me, but that's not because I'm a priest. It's because I'm a white man that's taller than most of the people.
Compared to them, You're like a giant over there.
Yeah. Well, I have my friend Dowser with me, and he had a louder expression of his personal presence and his personality, so they looked at us for him too. But, it was a really fun time. We had a good trip. All my friends that went together had a good time. All my good friends that I danced at their weddings for.
Have you seen the movie Silence?
I've heard of it. Is it the one with the monks?
Yeah, it's with the Jesuit. I think Jesuit.
Carthusian?
Yeah,
something like that.
Oh, that one. Is that with Martin Scorsese?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see it because Martin Scorsese is.
He was pretty there were some anti-Catholic undertones in all his previous movies.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to support this
even like watching The Departed, and it's some random scene where they're in a diner, and then all of a sudden, one of the characters puts a priest and a nun on blast.
This stuff is littered all throughout Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's disgusting, and it's intentional. As I was mentioning earlier, it's intentional.
And it sucks because as a Catholic, you're going there, you want to enjoy a movie, you're watching it, and then...
Well, Catholics are sheep that stick their heads in their shells like turtles, and oftentimes are afraid to respond and stick up for themselves in society because we're being molded and bred to, live off social media, whatever they feed us. Yep, I'm speaking very bluntly. Movie recording.
It's just that.
Yeah, so I don't care that I'm speaking really bluntly. John is getting up to fix one of the cameras right now, so don't worry. But yeah, Catholics are very much bashed all over the media. So I'm not afraid to defend my faith, the thing that has eternal consequences that I believe in. I'm very proud to defend that. So John is still messing with stuff right now.
Go ahead, Swan.
Swan's still here, though.
So are we still being recorded right now? Is that one?
Here and there.
Okay, cool. So anyway, yeah. So
anime.
So we'll go back to
Favorites.
Japan anime. So like,
Japan.
Would you ever live
What
in
else?
I don't.
Well,
know
John's
if I
saying,
can
would you
answer
ever
that.
live in
I'm a
Japan
priest.
if you can't hear that?
I'm a priest. I don't know if how that would work.
Find some ministry to take you there.
It doesn't work like that.
No.
I'm gonna live as a priest and be obedient for the rest of my life. But another hobby that I have, some people know about it, is I'm a big gamer. I used to play Halo 1 like crazy. I used to win in tournaments, hundreds of dollars. Used to be like an avid player, like addicted. Really, I was addicted to playing Halo 1 back in the day before even Xbox Live was created. I was with a group of people that played on Xbox Connect Online. But I played Super Smash Brothers Melee. Maybe some of you don't know what I'm talking about, but those of you who do, I choose Mario as my main, and I challenge you. I'm very, very proficient in my Smash
You
Brothers
said
skills.
you were in tournaments?
Yeah, I used to play in tournaments. I used to talk smack back before my conversion days. I used to walk into the tournament and be like, everybody, I'm going to beat you. Just for you to know. This is who I am. My name is Matthew Zetouna, and I'm going to beat you. And I would beat them.
You cheeky little bastard.
I would beat them so badly. And I would like shoot their dead body after I already killed them in the game.
You taunted them.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
they would quit the tournaments, even though they paid to be there.
I could attest, if anyone's a Halo fan out there, when we played
Halo 1.
when we played Halo 2 together,
I didn't play Halo 2 with you.
we played a few times.
Oh,
here.
maybe a couple of times. Like literally probably one of the only times I ever played it.
Yeah, you would have like 27 kills and like 2 deaths, whereas I'd have like 15 deaths and 2 kills. Or
Yeah.
you were really good.
Yeah, but I like Halo 1, just for the record.
Do you still play games? Do you have time? Do you have the time to play games?
I tried to. My first year of priesthood, I just couldn't do it, so I didn't play at all. But then a game called Overwatch came out, so I got so intrigued and piqued by it that I actually went and bought an Xbox One, and I bought Overwatch, and then I played it for like a couple months, and I couldn't play it anymore.
That's the multiplayer one, right?
Yeah, it's a first-person shooter online. To play against other people online.
And there's a bunch of
Random
bombastic characters.
Yeah. Then I played Final Fantasy 15. It's a very nerdy game. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I completed the game, just finished it. Was disappointed at the storyline, and then I'm back into Halo 1 actually right now. I've been
Halo
playing
1. People still play it.
The Halo Anniversary Edition came out like a couple years ago, and I just bought it like a month ago. I've been playing it here and there. Just getting my skills back. It's kind of fun, but it's just kind of like if I have the free time to do it, it's a nice, fun, recreational thing to do. But I play with my cousins online. We talk on the mic. So this reminds me of like a Joe Rogan style interview.
I don't know. I hope it's not like anyone else.
So the point of us being here is just to talk.
Yeah.
If you happen to like this, you happen to like this. But we're just having a good time with ourselves.
There's no category.
No, there's no category. It's just hanging out
and it's easy to fall in that line where I want to make the show like this or that or what I've seen that's successful, but I'm trying not to do that because I'm just trying
to do it for fun. Keep it as
it's a hobby. This is my hobby, just like you know.
Just like his hobby was a priest.
What are your hobbies, Swain?
My hobbies, take care of my family.
Yeah, it's pretty much another full-time job for you as a family, right?
Yes, especially having another newborn. It's a lot of work.
Like, what's the biggest challenge of having a baby?
Getting proper sleep. Because if you don't, you'll argue more and you'll be on edge more with your family. So if you don't get the right amount of sleep or play the hours correctly, you'll be on edge and the family will be unbalanced. It's like not eating. If you don't eat all day and you're having a conversation with your friend about a stupid topic, you might get angry, or if they drop something, or if anything dumb happens, you can just snap because you're very hangry, I guess they call it nowadays.
Yeah, like
it's very true.
It's kind of the same with sleep deprivation.
That took me a while to learn.
Yeah.
I never used to figure out why I'd like come home and snap at my mom. And then I finally realized it was correlated with the days where I'd skip lunch and I was really hungry.
Wow.
So once you have a
Isn't that
meal...
interesting?
Now, when was the last time I ate? Oh, that's why I'm angry. Whoops.
Yeah.
So another hobby is just fixing things around the house.
Gives you a sense of fixing things and then fixing it right when you complete it. Gives you a nice sense of completion, right?
Yeah. I mean, you want to I don't know, I guess it gives me something to do at home, so I just try fixing and remodeling everything I can.
It could be very obscure. Like, I remember instead of taking my car into the Pennzoil for a 10-minute oil change,
Yeah.
I did it myself, and it took me like an hour or two, like
Mhm.
way longer than it would have. But
Yeah.
when I was done, like the sense of completion I had, and it felt good. It just, I felt like a man.
Yeah, sometimes I gotta outweigh my time versus money on how much time I have to fix something or remodel something versus.
That's when you
paying
know you're
someone to
busy,
do it.
when you're weighing time versus money.
Yes, especially with another kid now, and they're both, one's newborn and one's under 2, so if one cries, it wakes the other one up.
Do you ever look at people like who are single and they're not married, they don't have kids, and they complain, "Oh, I don't have enough time."
Yeah, they just
And you're
wait.
like, yeah.
Just wait till you get married or become a priest, I guess.
That's the hardest
that's
part
hard
of
too.
your relationship process so far? Was it the engagement? Was it getting adjusted when you first moved into your house? Was it financial aspects? Is it personality clashes, or was it the children? What's the hardest?
I guess the hardest would be the children. Me and my wife have a good relationship.
That's awesome.
So the hardest is with the children. Well, when we had the second one. The first one was not easy but hard, but we adjusted. Now there's another one, so now when she has one, I have the other one. So both hands are full. And I hear once you have another one, a third, and you're outruled or you're outnumbered, it's a lot harder then. Because who's the other person to carry that one? So thank God we have a lot of family.
So your red beard is gonna start turning different color soon.
My red beard is different color. It's red, and my hair is brown.
I mean, you're gonna start getting.
It's turning gray.
Yeah.
It's already turning gray. I got one right here somewhere. You'll see it later. Well, you won't if I shave it.
Something in that mess of.
But yeah, so I don't really have much hobbies besides I like to build with my hands. I used to play video games a long time ago, Halo 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I grew up and I had to get a family and get a job. So now my hobbies are taking care of my family and taking care of our home and building it so we can have a strong, healthy, and Catholic family with the help of Father Matthew here.
With your prayers, buddy. So.
John, what are your hobbies? No one's asking you any questions here about. Tell us, you already told us about the show.
Yeah.
It's just a speak freely show, no topic.
Yeah.
This is your
have
idea.
a guest.
Yeah, this is
your idea. So obviously this is a start of a hobby.
Yeah. I like hanging out with my friends, hanging out with you guys. I like reading. I don't like reading fiction. I like reading autobiographies, especially of saints or mystics. I think they're very interesting.
You like St. Isaac of Nineveh? I'll tell you about him more later, but he's a mystic in the Chaldean Church. He's one of the first mystics that were to write as much as he wrote, at least from our church.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah, I gotta talk to you more about him.
Have you heard of Saint Bahnam and Saint Sarah?
I have.
That is, I think, the two most interesting saints we have. I think they were Assyrian or whatever, same lineage, but right?
I don't know. Talk to the
Chaldeans, Assyrians.
Should we open that can of worms?
I don't know.
That's not my forte.
But
so they were in the Church of the East.
They're the Church of the East.
Let's put it that way.
They are the two most interesting. When I went to Iraq in 2012. I was blessed enough to go there, and we learned about these saints, and they're everywhere there. I think they're.
You brought me an icon of Isaac and Bahnam, Sarah and Bahnam being baptized by a monk.
It was my favorite story. And they were pagans, or they believed in the sun. They worshipped the sun and stars. And then Bahnam's sister, they were a prince and princess. Their father was king of the land. Their sister had leprosy, and then he had a dream saying, "Go to the mountain. You'll find Saint Matthew there, Marmetzi, in the mountain, your namesake." And he will cure your sister of leprosy. And this was when he was out in a hunt. He was hunting one night, and then he woke up and he found the saint, and the saint healed his sister. It was something miraculous, like he struck the ground and a fountain came up, and she was baptized with that water.
Is that not a biography you read about that, or is that something you saw yourself? Or
this was explained to me by a monk at the St. Matthew Monastery.
Okay.
And I recorded it. I can't find any. I think there's one small Wikipedia section on this. But it's very interesting.
So
anyway, he converted, she converted. Their father killed them because they converted to this new faith. This is like 300 AD. And eventually their father went mad, and St. Matthew cured their father too, and then the whole land sort of converted. But it's really interesting.
So you brought up an interesting topic. You've been to Iraq.
Yes.
Give us more detail on Iraq, and what was the year you went there?
I went in 2012, so it was before the ISIS invasion, and it was we stayed in El Kosh, which is a beautiful village.
So
And
it's
it's
pretty
one
much right before everything.
right before, I think.
So you got to visit before everything was destroyed.
Just a year before. Those were a little bit less than
Yeah,
a year
because
before.
I think in 2013.
Before
is when
everything
it-
was
It was
destroyed,
like
you got to see the
June-
villages.
June or May when it happened.
Yeah, I was blessed.
You
enough
got to
go.
see it all before it went to ruin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I went with, at the time he was Deacon Andrew Seba, now Father Andrew Seba. And
So how was it there? The scenery, the culture, that's where our families are from.
Yeah.
Mm.
How did that affect you?
I think it's first of all, it's beautiful there. That goes without saying. We went in the dead of summer, so everything was really dry. But I find it interesting how when I was there, I remember thinking about this. How over here we say, oh, he's an East Sider or a West Sider or whatever, and we have that division. Or he's from this village or that village. Oh, you're Telkapnaya, you're from El Kosh, you're Batnaya. They do this, they do that. And when I went there, these villages are just like literally straight shot down the road from each other. Like a 40-minute drive to the next village, or even like a 20-minute drive between some of the villages.
Like Sterling Heights to West Bloomfield.
Yeah, and all the villages are beautiful, and I just found it funny that we have these stereotypes of people from each village.
From
And
years
tribal
ago.
mentality.
And I remember it because I'm Telkapnaya, and I think we could be kind of arrogant, people from my village, the way they speak, and look down on people from other villages. And so I stayed in El Kosh for a month, and I heard, before I got there, I just heard things about people from El Kosh. I heard this and that about them, and I stayed there, and they're the most amazing people. And another thing about the village is it's our only village that is 100% Chaldean still. It's not infiltrated by any other, no, Islam is not in there.
Mm.
You have to be Chaldean to live there. It's beautiful. So hopefully things get better.
What else
and
is your
Father Matthew, you could go. I know
Huh?
you said you've never been. But
Yeah, it'd be nice to visit our home country where we're from, to go there and not feel
Not
scared.
fear getting
Yeah.
your head cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean-
To ransom.
I mean, if you're
So-
Lebanese, you go to Lebanon all the time.
Yeah,
Our
we-
friends go
yeah.
to their summer home in Lebanon.
I
We don't
am-
get to do that.
We
I
can
intend
never
to go
visit
there.
our home country.
Yeah. I intend to go to Iraq sometime. I don't know when it will be.
I think it'll be sooner than later, honestly, if once they kick them out. 'Cause
Iraq will never be the same again.
No.
It will never be the same. And then seeing it, you'll never be able to see what was there before.
So when you were in the
Sorry.
village, was it simple? A simple life?
Life is simpler, yeah. It was like you would imagine village life to be. Like we said, people
Everyone
sitting
knows
outside.
each other.
Everyone knows each other. And
Farm, animals.
Yep.
If you're hungry, you go get the calf,
There's
slaughter it.
There's the local butcher who would come over and slaughter it,
Mm.
and everyone knows the butcher. And
Mm.
actually, people looked at us strangely in the first couple of nights because they didn't know who we were. But after a couple of days, these are the visitors from America.
Yeah.
They literally opened their doors to us.
That's cool.
And we'd be walking down the street, and they invite us in for a chai.
That's nice.
Man, that's one of the things I wish I can do in my lifetime.
I think you will. I think we'll have a chance to do it again.
I think we'll be able to go, but I don't think we're going to see what you saw.
no.
Maybe sporadically.
This was just El Kosh.
Yeah, so maybe
I'm
sporadically
describing because
we'll see it.
when we went to Kiev,
Yeah.
it was totally different. You hear the call for prayers over the loudspeakers.
Yeah,
You-
Tidkef
some
is
Muslims
not
everywhere.
Tidkef anymore.
Yeah.
Tidkef and Mosul is not Mosul anymore.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of these villages are essentially eradicated in terms of ethnicity. The Chaldeans are gone.
Yeah.
So, any other hobbies?
That's about it. Reading, hanging out with you guys, and just doing meaningful stuff. Especially as you get older, you realize the time is ticking, and you don't
Yes.
You don't want your life to waste away. You don't want to
No.
do meaningless things.
Like when you were younger, you just wanted to grow up. Now you just want to become younger.
It's not that I want to become younger.
Yeah.
I've embraced my age, and I'm happy with my age. I never look back and say. I never looked forward and said I can't wait to be older, and I never looked back saying I wish I was younger. I've always embraced where I am right now.
I felt that.
Do you always
That's
lie?
nice, yeah.
I'm not lying. Yeah.
Okay.
You felt that too, you said?
Yeah. We're in the same boat. We're the wise ones. Swan's got a lot to work on still.
I'm married and 2 kids. And you're a priest. And
I've done
Whoa,
that.
a priest with 4,500 family parish. 5 weddings on a Sunday. Average in the summertime, 5 masses on a Sunday, 3 weddings on the same Sunday, and this past Sunday I had 6 baptisms as well.
6 baptisms in one day?
Yeah.
Or at the same time?
About 2 months ago, I had 18 baptisms in the same ceremony.
Was it the day where they all want to do it on the same day Jesus was baptized, or the feast of the?
That's January
Epiphany?
6th, where the Chaldean Church, what we call the Epiphany,
Right.
is not what the Latin Rite recognized the gifts that were given to Jesus by the wise men. For us, we recognize the baptism of Jesus and the revelation that occurred at Epiphany, which means revelation, was the divinity and God's being the Trinity, right? Revealing himself as the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So it wasn't that day. The second most popular day for baptisms in the year for the Chaldean Church is New Sunday. It's the week after Easter. So it was that day. Well, consider this.
Is that Divine Mercy Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, thank you. It's Divine Mercy Sunday in Latin, right? But the Chaldean Church, we don't have a Divine Mercy Sunday. So in my mind, it's New Sunday.
Okay.
But it's also Divine Mercy Sunday, yes. So 2 weeks before that was Palm Sunday. We didn't have any baptisms because of the insanity of the masses and extended mass. Easter Sunday, we didn't have any baptisms.
So it builds up.
2 weeks after Easter was the ordination at our parish for 2 deacons. So we had to cancel the baptism because the mass would have extended over into the baptism time.
That's 3 weeks.
So the week sandwiching that, which is also a popular week for baptisms, we had 18 children in the same ceremony. I did that. It was so fun. It was memorable.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember when you baptized my firstborn? I don't know the date.
Was it at Holy Martyrs? When I did that?
Holy Mars.
Okay.
Do you ever get nervous in front of a crowd of so many people? Like St. George is a big church.
When I first came to St. George, so here's the thing: when you're standing up there, my biggest fear before becoming a priest was speaking in public.
Public speaking.
Believe it or not, I've told people that before.
I can't believe that.
Yeah. See, behind that facade is a lot of freaking out.
You're pretty good at public speaking.
Thank you. But when I when I first came to St. George, just because like I took it for granted, where you're sitting in a certain setting at Holy Martyrs, I have my hands touching the podium in a certain way, and I can extend them, and this kind of feel, and I know how to work with the crowd because they knew me there for 4 years, and I was even a deacon there, so consider that was 5 years. I went to St. George, and I took for granted that when I walk down the steps while I'm holding the gospel, the steps are measured differently than at Holy Martyrs, and I can fall. And the timing from the presider's chair to the gospel and the pace with which I go has to beat when the hallelujah is done, so that I don't finish walking there after they already concluded the hallelujah. And so all these other factors have to come into concern. And then when I'm preaching, I hear the feedback in the church, and it's kind of like I hear myself again in the end when I'm saying a word as the echo. And then I also feel that I'm not being loud enough because the microphone catches my voice differently, like it just happened right now. I realized I was being quieter. So on top of all that, you look up and there's a sea of people that are different, and that's not bad, but they're a different crowd than Holy Martyrs, and I had to kind of adjust to that. And that all those things I took for granted that I forgot about, that I have to take into account, made me start. When you speak to a crowd, in general, when I speak to the crowd as a whole. I speak to the crowd as a whole, but what you don't want to do is look at people and get stuck into looking at their gaze at your face, because then you're going to get evaluating how are they looking at me. No, you focus on the issue at hand. You talk about it as it is important from your heart. That's what I try to do. But that was happening when I first got there because I had to get used to the setting again. So the first few weeks was like that, and what I did was sharing with you what I did. I went out and prayed at night a couple of times in the church. I just started praying and started sitting in different spots in the church. Literally, I was doing that. Just
like different pews?
Yeah, like this part of the church, back corner, middle center, front right.
You're making it your home.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, this is how people feel. This is who I'm talking to. This is the cross that they're looking at behind me. The next Sunday was a clear difference. It was a very much homier feeling for me. So that happened my first time at St. George. But in a healthy sense, guys, I'm very afraid every single homily, because I respect the weight of responsibility and the gravity of the topics that I'm talking about and the consequences which could be eternal if I don't give the message in the way that it's intended to be given. So when I preach, I can't preach what I want to talk about. I have to preach what the gospel is talking about. That's a job of a priest. You shouldn't be saying feeding your opinion into the gospel. And if you do, if somehow you can justify a very rare blue moon moment, you have to qualify that it's your opinion. And I don't know why that should even be done, that you should say your opinion. But you should be communicating what the Lord wants to communicate, because that's the point of the homily. You're communicating what Jesus said in the gospel, or what was said in the readings, or something that's going to read them into greater worship of the Eucharist and the Mass. So anything in the context of the liturgy can be used as bait or as meat for the homily. But a priest should not be injecting his own agenda or opinions,
because that can make people join or leave the church if they inject their own opinions.
That and also it's just like, what are you going to be what are you a priest for? In principle, you should be there to be an ambassador of Christ, right? To be ambassador of the gospel, and you're giving your own opinion. That defeats the purpose. It defeats the principle of your being there.
Yeah.
And you're actually shaming who you are. St. Augustine says there's no greater ease in life than being a priest that can take his rest, put up his feet, and abuse his role. But there's no greater shame in the afterlife than to be that priest and the suffering that he will endure in hell. And in the opposite sense, there's no greater difficulty than a priest who soldiers through this life, preaching what the gospel says and suffering through the consequences of doing that. But then there's no greater joy or glory that someone can receive than doing that and receiving the reward in the afterlife.
Yeah.
I take seriously what I do. As we were talking about earlier, I took an extra year in the seminary because I didn't feel I was ready. And as a result, because the community is so tight, I had a lot of backlash. Priests called me. They said I'm going to leave the seminary. Some secretaries of churches were calling me. They were crying. A lot of backlash happened. But I made that decision because I didn't feel I was ready to be a priest yet. Not because I was just thinking about not being a priest, but I don't want to walk into this needlessly. And now I see couples that are going to marriage vows with me, and they have a half-hour appointment to open a marriage file and a 3-hour marriage class, and it's too much for them. I had 7 years, and I didn't feel like that was enough for me. Come on, what are you thinking about when you're doing this? We have to really take seriously our actions. If you're going to be a priest, you better do it the right way. Otherwise, you're going to be judged hard. So I got to preach the gospel, and sometimes that means saying difficult things. And that's again the first thing I said in this show, that I'm proud of my reputation. I'm proud of my reputation for being blunt, but it's not because I am a troll, which I am, that I do that. But it's more because I believe in what I'm saying, and the thought was there for a moment. It deserves the integrity of saying it, but I just had a thought and it just flew away somehow. It was a really good thought. Thank you, Swain.
Well, if you remember it, bring it up.
We're on show here.
How do you think people respond to you being blunt? From my point of view, I feel like people like that.
It depends on what I'm blunt about.
If it's blunt about something that you're against,
I preach about,
you're not going to like the guy.
I preach about using or selling marijuana illegitimately and saying that's a serious sin. And I got more backlash on that than any other homily I've ever given.
Wow.
Because I affected the pocketbooks of people. You know, that's why. That's the real reason.
Have you?
But in general, people give me a positive reaction, which I didn't expect.
How is the marijuana in our community? Have you seen it affect our youth?
How is it like?
Like, how does it taste good? Is it
quality?
How's the quality?
Excuse me.
No.
So how's the quality of it?
No.
Talk about marijuana in the community.
I feel like a lot of our youth are using it and abusing it, and
a lot of all youth are, not just our youth.
Right.
But a lot of our youth are also, all of our community is also selling it.
It's becoming now we're selling it.
Selling it illegitimately. Yeah. Because that's pretty much, as far as I understand, the only way you can make money off of it. How do I feel about it? Well, it's not going to last long. Probably within the year, it's going to be legalized and controlled, and it's
like alcohol.
Kind of like alcohol.
I have a cousin. He's a police officer in Sterling Heights, and he said, John, do you know how many calls I get for... He said, John, do you know how many calls I get for drunken abuse and disorderly contact under the influence of alcohol per day? Dozens. So many. Do you know how many I get for
drugs?
For marijuana? Zero. He was making a point. He was saying when you smoke weed, like you're mellow, you're at home, you're not gonna do anything.
Take it easy.
Compared with you're taking it easy. Compared with alcohol.
Yeah.
So he was sort of advocating how it could be a good thing.
Yeah. So
but
saying it's not the
on the
worst
flip
thing.
side, I have seen weed affect people more drastically than alcohol has. I've seen valedictorians at their class plans to go to med school because of weed, their addiction to weed, marijuana. Just
So a lot of it is what's going on within the person, that they're manifesting their need to compromise or deal with their pains or their struggles in their life through this habit of weed or through alcohol or through gambling or through sex or through whatever it might be. It's like what I try to focus on is, okay, what's the cause of you doing that, and how do we try to maintain that as much as we can, and how do we treat it?
yeah.
And then, because what you're doing is smoking, and that's a consequence of something else that's going on. If it is in the form of an addiction that's breaking you down, that is. But the whole issue of weed in general is something that the church hasn't given too much fine print on, that particular topic. The most I can say that she says is in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, where any illegitimate use of drugs outside of strict therapeutic use would be considered a harm to the body, or maybe on the classification of sin.
Yeah.
But in terms of the gravity and the intricacies of weed, I wish the church would say more about that in a formal sense.
They're probably going to have to soon.
I hope so.
I don't know.
Because many arguments are made on both sides.
Yeah.
I don't think it's. I think it's a big thing that needs to be addressed, but.
Do you think it's okay if it becomes? I don't know. I don't want your opinion, but it could become as normal as. I mean, if you want to give your opinion, it's fine. As liquor stores, it could be our next. Chaldeans.
Or they just sell them.
Yeah.
In
So
stores.
I see a lot of conflicting.
Or pharmacies too.
I see a lot of
Keep on
conflicting comments on the health forum on the consequences of using marijuana. I was just talking with some of the young priests the other day about that, and governmental comments on I can't source them right now, and I'm sorry for that, but some of the comments were in essence saying, yeah, it kills your brain cells, or the tar in there is really bad for you. It's like smoking this many cigarettes or whatever. So
I think one of the most disturbing facts research was it shuts down the part of your brain that's responsible for motivation.
yeah,
That was scary to me.
yeah. I was on forums that for people that smoke weed,
Is
because I was
that
giving a
true?
topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
I can't cite that
I-
now, but if you
'Cause
Google
I
it,
know
you'll find it.
people who will smoke marijuana before they go to, say, the gym or whatever, and they said
Clears.
it helps them clear their mind and focus more.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't smoke it.
On
so I
their
don't know.
Yeah,
task.
nor do I. So. But I just know that when I looked at forums when I was going to give a talk on drugs, I looked at forums of people who smoke weed, and people were asking themselves, like, oh, what's the thing that we hate the most about this, what it does to us? And unanimous response was, it makes me unmotivated, it makes me lazy.
Yeah. That's what scared me. I don't
Maybe
know.
it depends on what the person is doing.
Yeah.
Maybe working out is not motivation. They're there, they smoke it, they're
When
relaxed.
this friend of yours,
Yeah,
is it?
a friend of mine.
Yeah. It's not you.
No, I mean, we want to make that clear.
Yeah. Well.
I'm the comedic relief, not you.
No, you're all John.
Yeah. Hey, that's it for the show. Swan, Deli, thank you for joining us. Father Matthew, thank you. I had a good time. Maybe we could do this again.
My pleasure. We'll have a to be continued.
Maybe we'll have some questions from folks out there that we didn't uncover. No,
Nah.
this sucks. Let's redo that and start again.
Huh?
What? No, we're going to keep that. Everyone, this is Swan Deli. This is how retarded Swan is. Swan,
Father Matthew only calls when he needs stuff. I said it.
Swan swallows microphones. If you ever want to ask any questions, if I ever do come back to this show, if you don't think that some questions were asked that are hot button topic questions, feel free to leave a comment, and maybe someday we can address a lot of those in a follow-up show.
Absolutely.
But I'll leave that to the host to decide to bring me back or not. Thank you anyway.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
God bless you, John.
Have a
God
good
bless you,
night.
Swan. Good night.